Anyway, this is the timeline that I am going to trying to make. The idea is that we have frames going across the top, and then we have a little playhead that moves back and forth, and then we have tracks for individual properties, or perhaps a waveform for audio or something like that going across on each row. Pretty typical stuff, pretty standard thing. What I have so far is this. I have the frames going across the top. I have a playhead that I can drag back and forth, and it causes the thing to scroll. It's a little wacky. If you put it just right, it'll cause it to scroll, even if it's just if you're moving it in the right towards the right, it'll move to the left, so it's a little bit off there. But for the most part, it does enough that I can use it to control a scene now, or I could use it to control a scene if I had a scene. So I think the very next thing I'm going to do is set up a scene, and let's just say let's just add a new little text here. I'll move this to the left, and we'll call this the main UI, or UI with the scene, UI with scene, UI user interface with scene. And we will make this into let's add a Pharo snippet, and get rid of this one, and move this a little bit to the right so it indents, and there we go. All right, so we're going to, first of all, I just want to double check that I have, okay, I've committed everything, so this is a fresh copy. I'm going to go ahead and save it in this state. In case anything crashes, then I know that my code is up to date with the repository and all that. I am on a 5-day sprint. I have 5 days off from work. Today is day 2. This is session 3 of my sprint. Okay, so UI with scene. So the idea is that we will make a BR vertical panel, vertical pane. Yes, new. It's going really slow today for some reason. And we're going to say add child. Oops. And we're going to add child GS timeline new, just like up the top here, like that. GS timeline new. And we're going to add it as timeline. That just gives it a name in the hierarchy here. And we're going to add child something else, scene, I guess. I think I have a thing called GS scene, right? Do I not? I do. New as scene. And that should put one on top of the other. Let's see what actually happens when you do that. All right, so there's the thing. So now we're going to tell it to match parent on sizing. And there we go. And actually, we'll just call this scene. And we'll make a scene. We'll make a scene. And we'll just make it as a separate object. Scene is equal to what? GSC new, add child. And we're just going to add a BL element new size. Oh, actually, we're going to add it. We're going to call it square. Square as square. Okay. And then, so now we make a square. Square is a BL element new. Very slow typing on this thing. New, not responsive at all. Am I already using a ton of memory? No, it says it's about a gig, less than a gig here. Discord is taking up a lot of space, so we'll just kill Discord. Goodbye, Discord. Power usage, so not really memory or CPU. Everything's okay. All right, well, it's still just a little slow. That's okay. All right, so BL element new, and we're going to add a square. So we'll say size is, I don't know, 50 at 50. 50. Color, oh, sorry, background is heat. Actually, we don't need this because we're just going to say color red. Color red. Border. Color dark red. Okay, well, there's no dark red, so just red. I think we say red darker. Yeah. Although that does not look much darker to me. We'll say color from hex string. Ooh. So that would be something like, I don't know, maybe 990000. There we go. That's a nice little dark red. Okay. And then we'll relocate it to the center of the screen. We don't know what the center is. I think you can put a constraint on there to make it go to the center, but we're just going to say, for now, we'll just say relocate to something like, 400 at 200. 200. All right, and now if I run this, what do I get? Okay, so we'll move it up a little bit. Or like 300, 150, right? How about 350, 150? Obviously, we need better tools for finding like the center and things like that, but this is a prototype. Okay, so we have a scene. We have a thing in the scene. It has a name. The name is square. So here we've given it a name. And I don't know how to do like min height and max height constraints yet. Max height, okay. Maybe I can just say max height? Or min height, I guess is what I really want. Let's see if this works. I don't think this does, but it does not. Min height, 200. Yeah, it does not recognize that. So how about I think constraints do. And then you have the C is the constraint, so C vertical min height is 200, right? Yes, that looks right. Let's see if it works. Does not work. Did not understand min height. Yeah, okay, common constraint axis did not understand min height. How about we say common, C min height. There we go, okay. So min height, we're going to say 500. That does not look like it gave it 600. No, it does not. So that didn't have an effect. So C vertical. All right, so let's look for examples of this. So we say Control N to find centers of that. We'll match parent. You can say exact 600, but how about match parent? Oh, we look for implementers of match parent and then see what else is there. Size property. Fit content. Fit content limited. Measurement at most width. Unspecified width. Yeah, I don't think they have this thing. I don't think they have this ability. So we'll just say match content. Not this one. All right, so scene, and we're just going to say exact. The vertical exact 600. $500. 480. Okay. All right. And we could even say, I wonder if we say C horizontal exact 640. Will that make it 640 by 480? Yes, okay. Well, that looks kind of weird, so let's just say match pair. Okay. So now we can move this back and forth. And so now we should be able to put a keyframe here on one of these things. So we need to be able to put a keyframe into the scene. Well, let's just put one track in there for now. So right now we have like 3 tracks. They're just kind of hard coded. Of course, that doesn't make much sense. So let's actually let's make a new window for this, and we'll come. We might have to jump around a little bit. So GS timeline. And where we say make track list holder. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So we're just going to make this one. We're just going to put the word square in here for now. Square. So we have 1 square. Okay, so So I've been thinking about this. I believe I am really sold on Block as a foundation for graphics. I'm not necessarily sold on Brick. So Brick is the widget layer on top of it, and I think Brick, it's either. I don't want to talk negative about it because I mean it's we're using it here, and it's what's enabling this nice user interface that I find to be very attractive for coding. But for actually making user interfaces, it's missing a lot of features that just haven't been implemented yet, and there's very, very little documentation, and I find it very hard to understand. It has this concept of aptitudes, and it has just, I don't know, like I said, like I demonstrated yesterday, you look at BR button, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't look like a button, doesn't have any text on it. You can put a label on it, doesn't show up anything. You have to add other stuff to it to make it into a thing that you would actually call a button. And so all the work is actually being done in BR Glamorous button, something like that. And so there's actually like 4 layers. There's like, you know, Sparta at the bottom, which is like pure Canvas API. And there's Block, which is the element stuff like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Brick is the widget layer, and then, but it's like abstract widgets. Like it's completely, it's not documented well, and it's very, very flexible to the point that I don't really understand what all the pieces do. Like it's really hard to track down where a scroll bar, you know, I have this issue with the scroll bar where you scroll left and right and you drag it one way and it actually moves the other way. And it's like, I can't find where the mouse is actually connecting to this thing yet. There's too many objects. It's got ravioli code right now. Maybe when there's documentation, I'll be able to see the pattern here. But so far, it's really lacking in documentation. And so I'm not terribly impressed with Brick. I'm very impressed. Well, I'm impressed with the effect that Brick has made as a UI, as a Glamorous toolkit. You know, to make this user interface and, you know, all the things that it can do, the flows and the tabs and all that stuff. I really like this way of working with code. But as a general purpose user interface, it's just not there yet. So I have decided to just not worry about Brick that much and just try and implement what I think makes sense, because this is a prototype and I just need to move quickly, and it doesn't matter to me if I don't do it the Brick way, right? I'm going to try and do things the Block way to the extent that I can, to the extent that I understand it. And then if I don't match with Brick, well, who cares, right? You know, I can always fix it later, or, you know, replace individual components or whatever. And there's a very good chance that at some point I will port this to a language like Flutter or like Dart and use Flutter, so that I can get, you know, put it on the web, put it on the desktop, put it on mobile, and do all that kind of stuff. But right now, that's in the future when I'm, you know, if I ever consider making this into a product, or if I want to share it with other people or anything like that. Right now, I just want to make videos for myself, and I want a simple animation tool. And none of the ones out there do the one thing I want it to do, which is to make it integrate well with drawing, with algorithms. So I want to be able to run an algorithm and record the animation as the algorithm is running on a data structure. So I don't even know what that means yet. But if I have a graph algorithm or an array algorithm or something like that, and I want to illustrate what's happening with the data structure, then I want to be able to write that algorithm and include little pieces that say, okay, do this, do this, do this. And then I want to, you know, from that, I should be able to generate a track. Now, maybe that is not, maybe it's not even necessary to do this. Maybe I could be doing this with Godot. Maybe I could be doing this with Blender. Maybe I could be doing this with any other animation tool. I could be making like I could be wasting my time. So I want to prototype. I want to see if I like this. I want to see if this is worth it. And so that's what I'm doing here. So the point of that is that I am trying to make this thing right now, and I want to be able to put a label. I want to put a label here. I want to put, I'm not, okay. I guess I was going to try and make this look like a list where you could click one and it was selected. I think I probably still will do that, but I'm going to put it down here. So select, you know, select a column, or select a track, select and highlight a track, and highlight a track. Selecting a track should highlight it. Selecting a track, clicking a track, click a track to highlight and select it. Okay, I've also got basically a grid here. So these are columns right now, but now once I add this other axis, they're going to be it's going to be a grid, and there's going to be squares in each one of these places. So what do I do? I think what I want to do is I want to make an example out of this. So this is actually going to be a, even though it's not really much of a, what was it? So it would say GS Animator. So I guess Animator is the tool that I'm working on. I just made this name up. Animator examples. scene with square. That's what I want. So that's what this, all of this should be that. Okay? So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to create this thing, and create class animator examples, and it's going to be a superclass is going to be, it's just an object, because this is a test, basically a test. Examples are tests in Glamorous Toolkit. The package is GS Game Sketchlib. Game Sketchlib. And the tag name is examples. And the slots are going to be scene. And what did I just have? I had square and timeline. No, probably it's more like app, right? Well, okay, they can be referenced to something. So scene, we're going to have the scene, we're going to have the timeline, and we're going to have the app. No, that doesn't make sense. These are going to be local variables in the script. Oh, come on. I just screwed that up. I pressed backspace too many times, and now it's screwed up. Superclass, I have to type all that again. Game sketch lib, and the tag name is examples. I don't know if I need slots or not, so let's just save this. And then scene with square. How about scene with square? We're going to make this create method scene with square. And we'll paste it. I still have this on my clipboard. I do. So really, we're just going to return this. And we'll give a local variable named square here. So really, this would be like a GS animator, right? So I'm going to return a GS animator, which does not exist yet. Animator, new, and that's going to have a scene, and then that's going to have the UI and all this stuff. So it's going to have this stuff. So, and then we're going to get the scene from that. Add child as square. That's what I want. So undeclared temp GS animator, create class GS animator. That is going to be, I guess, a GS app. I don't know what the tag is yet. I think that already has a scene in it. Let's see. Yeah, it does. Because it's provides this. It just says return scene, so that's already there. Okay, so if I run this again, what do I get? That. All right, so now I need to actually open GS Animator. So let's just GS Animator new. That's just going to return like this, right? All right, so let's browse this class. This is a protocol browser. It's meant. I made this. I made this view. The idea is to be able to show all the things that are inherited from GSApp and GSAnimator and Object. But it does. It only shows what's in the current one right now. So I'll just do it right here. I'm not going to take time to go fix this thing. I'm just going to do it the way other people do it. So because otherwise, when you browse the method, you only see what's in the current class. You don't see what's inherited. And the protocol browser is a traditional Smalltalk tool that shows you all of those. Allows you to see above in the hierarchy. All right. So I think UI is seen. Make UI. So it already has that. So it already has this. And then, so now we can say make UI, make UI. We'll override this method down here. I'm going to say super make UI. UI is equal to make UI. Or I guess we don't even have to do that. That's already assigned here. And then we've already, this will be part of the whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then so add child. We've already got the scene there. And it already is a vertical thing, so we just add the GS timeline as timeline. And it already does match parent, I believe it does. We'll see. So I think that's it. We just say this, and then we just return it. So return super make UI add child, blah, blah, blah. All right, and if we do that, then I think, actually we can just click this button up here and it makes a new copy of it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, you cannot see the lines. Okay, so let's make the lines gray. Wait, hang on. Yeah, you can see these, but there's no, okay, so maybe I'll make them white. Or just darker gray. Oops. And so I think we have to go to GS timeline, and then to make the UI, somewhere in here there's a grid. Make scroll pane. Dark gray, borders color dark gray. Content timeline, make timeline. Where's make timeline? Probably an initialize, right? Grid UI new. So Control B to browse that. Come on. Uh-oh, something's happening. Got a bunch of errors saying cursor not found in set. That's some kind of error with the coder. Let me just. Oh, still happening. Okay, it seems to have calmed down. Alarm going off. Tell me it's 11 o'clock. Normally at work, I have a appointment at 9 o'clock or every morning that just says "Do not bother me." So it just says "Nope" on my calendar, and I don't take any meetings before 11 o'clock. That way, I have a little bit of time to myself every day to work on things before people start trying to drag me into meetings. Okay, make columns. Okay. Very light gray. How about very, very dark gray? Here's very dark gray. That screws up how my other timeline looks, but I don't care about that because that is not. I'm just gonna make it look different here, right? It should still be usable, just darker. Yeah, it looks darker there, but it'll be. Should have done this here. Initialize. Really, I should. Okay, this doesn't have to be right? This doesn't have to be the final answer. Just do something that works. So we'll call this white. It can't be white. So how about from hex string? CC. That does look okay here, and I bet it will look okay here. Yeah, okay, so that I can still see that. That's okay. I'm fine with that. Tweak it later, but it's good enough for now. I need a method called add scene child in GS app, because otherwise this is returning the scene, right? And then I want it to return GS animator. Add scene child. Add scene child as, and then we're going to make that name. And so we're going to say scene, add child, and element as a symbol. Add child and element as a symbol. All right, so now if I run this, then I should get this with that red scene. Save that, run it, boom. That's what I want. So GS animator new gives me an animator, and animator with square gives me this. Perfect. Okay. So I don't need this anymore. So now I want to add a track for a square, and but not just square. It needs to be square with something, right? It has to be a property. So square position, right? So what do I want it to look like? Something like like app is equal to this, and then we're going to say app what? Well, we need timeline, right? We need time. We need or maybe we just say add. We just say app add. I'm trying to imagine what I want the thing to look like. So eventually it's going to be like, so this is a this is a array, right? Yes. This is an array. And we want the array to contain something like keyframes. So do I want frame 0? Something like this. It's gonna be like, say, app add actually, I think you can say this is a array of symbols, right? So you say square, add track for square position, right? With keyframes, with keys. How about just with keys? And then so then 0 would be like wherever we started that thing. So what do we say? So GS animator examples. Let's browse this class in the square. So 350, 200. I think this makes an association. So this right here is a complete right. Well, an association, yeah, 0 to that. Can I even say that? Does that work? Yeah, that works. So 10. Oh, maybe we'll say this is 0. 0 at 480. No, or rather, 320 at 480. And then it's going to bounce up to 640 at not quite 200, but like 240 or something like that. Right, so it's going to make a start out about here, bounce down, and then come back up. Right? I'm going to go ahead and add this method and just not have it do anything yet. Oh, it doesn't let me add it, right? Message is not implemented. Size of keys. Add track for with keys. Okay, so it's not letting me add that. The refactoring browser doesn't remember that it's a GS animator. Oh, because it doesn't know what this is. You can't tell what this is. I tell it returns a GS animator new. GS animator. Return GS animator. Oh, returns GS animator. No, it doesn't. It doesn't know what an app is. If I run this, does it know? And then does it? No, it just doesn't know. Oh yeah, it does. It does. It said now I can add it in the class. So was that syntactic, or was it because because it knows what it is? Yeah. So it doesn't inspect this. It has to actually know what it is. So the fact that it's run and it knows what app is now, it can add it to the class. That's nice. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to add it right now, and it doesn't do anything yet. So boom. Okay. So now this runs, but it doesn't add the keyframe yet. Why don't I call this bouncing square? I'll make a second example, kind of following the way that they tend to make examples. So I'm going to add this class, add this method. Okay, and then what it's going to do is app equals self scene with square, or what does it say? Scene with square add track for self scene with square, and then this add track for. Oops. Scene with square add track for square position with these. I will leave those there. All right, so there should be a track here called square position, and it should have 3 keyframes, one at 0, 10, and 20. And when I click on 0, it should actually move the animation to that point. And so even though it started out in the middle of the scene, because that's how the scene was configured, because in theory you'll be able to move these around anywhere you want. And then when you click on 0, it'll actually snap it to what it'll rearrange it to whatever. Why am I not in the frame? My face tracking is screwed up. It'll rearrange it to whatever is however the configuration is set for everything that has a track. When you click on a frame, it'll set all those properties to whatever they are on that frame. Maybe if it has a track and keyframes, right? And you're within the bounds of the, like, you're after, or you're on or after the first keyframe. Because you could have a thing that so in Godot, sometimes you want to have situations where you don't necessarily set the position of everything on the first frame. you want to say whatever, like, because you want to chain animations together. And so you want to have one animation leave things in a particular state. And then a second animation, like, do that. And that way you can change different first animations. So you can have different initial configurations and then chain them together in different ways. So maybe that means that you have on frame 0, you have like a default thing that's not actually set for the, something that acts like a keyframe but isn't really a keyframe. You have like a virtual keyframe on frame 0, if that makes sense. Because you always want to be able to scrub this back and forth. So if you scrub this from 0 to 10, you should make an animation, and if you scrub it back, it should do whatever the animation was in reverse, even if some of the things were not specified. So if on frame 10 this is set to go up here, and on frame 0 it has no keyframe, then this should be whatever it is in the scene should act as a keyframe, I think. And then you scroll here and it would go to the place, and then you scroll back and it would go back to where it was. I think that's the model I want to use. That makes sense to me now. I think, and then if that gives you weird behavior, then what you do is you say, well, you say, you put an explicit keyframe in there. And now I'm thinking in the back of my head that maybe one of the keyframe types is just from scene, so just wherever you are, and then that's like always on frame 0. And so then it's explicit in the UI that you have a keyframe there, but it's a keyframe from the scene, a keyframe provided by however the scene is laid out at the current moment that you start the animation. That's my thought. Okay. Second, so my issues are now that I have 2 separate controls here. If I click on this one, these lines actually extend for like 65,000 pixels, right? It's kind of weird. So if I scroll up and down with my mouse, I can make those things disappear. I can make these numbers disappear. But this does not scroll. So what do I do? I also want, I don't need to scroll yet. Just forget about scrolling up and down for a minute, because I have room to put multiple things here. I have plenty of room. So I can just defer scrolling to some point in the future. So like future work, future, and then we can put this as like way future scrolling, vertical scrolling, scroll of timeline, keep left and right sides in sync, because they're separate controls. So I have to solve that problem at some point in the future. Don't need to worry about it right now, though. That can be later. So I'll call this the MVP, right? This is what I'm working on right now, is MVP. Four of those. Okay. MVP, minimum viable product. How about we say version 0? Version 0, or version 0.1 MVP. Okay. Don't scroll when we pulse, when the pulse starts in the zone, right? So this is, this doesn't even, this can be later too. I think if I create Alt-Shift down, yeah, that can move down. That can move down to the future. Click a column to set the playhead. That is essential. Click a track to highlight and select it. Does that really matter? No. Because I'm not what I'm going to do. Delete the track? I don't need that right now. That's probably something that probably needs to be done. Whatever. That can be 0.2 or something like that. All right, so click a column to set the playhead. Definitely needs to be high priority. In other words, you click here and you go to that frame and set all scene items to corresponding and show and reconfigure scene for that point in time. Okay, that's definitely what I want. And then other things I want are, so basically what I'm working on right now is add tracks to timeline. But even more importantly, right now I can just hard code it. So I'm just going to hard code this track right here. And we're going to say add keyframes to timeline. I would say draw keyframes. Draw keyframes on timeline. Draw keyframes in timeline. Okay. And then the next thing I want to see after that, after I can click on a keyframe or click on a column and set the keyframe, then play the animation. Play animation or segment of animation. Play animation. Maybe later we have advanced animation controls. Or how about, actually, instead of this, instead of click a column, drag playhead. And that way, when you do this, and it starts auto-scrolling, that plays the animation. Or, well, maybe. But maybe it would be on scene end and then, or on drag it, on pull end. So when you drag it and drop it on something, and then also while it's moving. So I think those are two things. Set playhead. And then I think later, click to set playhead. And that's really nice to have, but it's also so low priority that can be in the future. Hey, come back here. What happened? All right, so right, and then in the future we want to be able to record that. That's way in the future. Right, so I think that could go way down here. So drag items in scene to set keyframes. Although that's probably one of the very first usability features I'd want. Maybe even my cursor's not working. Backspace is not working. Is it the keyboard? No, it works in everything else. Now it's working. All right. So actually, we do want this probably fairly soon. Because that's the whole point. That's the whole point of making this visual interface, is so that you can drag this and then you click something. So that's very high on the list. But that gets into the whole scene editor thing. This select button, this thing up here is like a holder for a toolbar. This is a placeholder for a toolbar where there is a select option where you can drag and select things. It doesn't quite work yet. But the idea is you'd be able to draw the scene, add things to the scene, and so on, right? Okay, next up. Draw keyframes in timeline. So I've added keyframes with this bouncing square here. So we've added these. So we need to set up add track for with keys to actually draw some things in the drag playhead to set the playhead to set to preview animation. And reconfigure scene for that one time. Then advanced animation controls, that would be like autoplay. Autoplay. Actually, that's the main thing. Just that's the main thing I want. The other, it would be like play in reverse or change the speed or anything like that. That can, speed, etc. Just autoplay the animation. Autoplay animation from start to end frame with optional loop. That is a very simple thing to do. None of that's hard. Speed is not hard either, but just say autoplay entire animation. And then we'll see if we want to do this. Autoplay from start to end, from start frame to end frame, because now you have to set up a form to configure all that stuff. Or I suppose part of it could be just software, right? We could just set the values in code, right? All right, this is speed, looping, etc. Speed, reverse, etc. The other thing I'm picturing is add a stage to the scene. A rectangle showing camera balance. That's easy enough, but it needs to be ideally it would be centered. So that was center this. And center this nicely. Or how about we just say center this, center nice, and center the stage bounds nicely. And in the meantime, the scene holder itself will draw the will draw it in there. So GS Animator, GS Animator. Let's go to that, and when we say Make UI, add track for actually GS App. When we say that, Scene UI, Start Scene, Make UI, Scene Holder. So when we say GS Animator, Make UI. Super Make UI. So how about UI is Super Make UI, even though it's redundant. UI add child, scene holder, add child, BL element new, size 640 at 480 as stage. Self make stage, a stage, and then we'll make this, boom, and then add this, and make stage will be border color block. And if I did that right, I think now we have a black box around this when we run it. Oh, when do instance of GS animator did not understand when do. That would make sense. What did I do wrong? And return UI. I think we just say return UI here. There we go. So that's the scene, that's the box. That's the extent of the whatever. You know what? I actually know how to do this very easily, right? So scene holder. Maybe I don't know how to do this. I'm starting to waste time. But I think toolbar should be one word. Okay. Toolbar. Make scene holder. I should probably like define a convention for whether I'm, you know, when I say make scene holder, maybe that should always assign the variable if there is a variable attached, rather than doing it in the place where it's called, because then I don't have to look in two different places. GS object add scene. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say BR horizontal pane. I think this has a thing to center things. So I hit Control, horizontal row 1 by run, meta, align center, yeah. New, match parent, align center. Add child scene, align center, or something like that. I think these are all. No, you don't need that there. Match parent, add child scene, and align center. I think that's it. Let's see what that does. I don't know what that did. What did that do? So the default scene, make this app as a scene holder, add child scene, make start scene, make scene holder as. So initialize here says scene equals make start scene, UI equals self make UI. This already assigns UI. The self make UI, okay. And then make tools. Make start scene. Scene equals make start scene, GS scene new. There's another part of me who says, well, why don't you just put everything in the initialize? I don't know. Then there is also one place to look. But the problem is that initialize is also responsible for composing all these things. So, well, I don't know what the answer is yet, but I don't know what the right design is yet. So I'm just going to leave it as is, not mess with anything, and rethink that later. I'm just wasting time right now, aren't I? That align center didn't do what I thought it would do. And it seems like the two things are. That's the stage. It's 640 by 480, and it's actually, you can see it's bigger than the scene. But it's not centered. Why isn't the stage centered? Because GS scene is match content, match parent rather than. Okay, that's why. So GS scene needs to match its. The scene needs to match its children, not its parent. Make start scene, GS scene new. Fit content, right? Like this is too big. This no. Like if this is 640 pixels, then how big is the? That's 480. Is that 640 by 480? Why is this so tall? Timeline match parent. Use vertical panel. Maybe I just need to put a. Hmm. Hang on a second. GS app. If we go to GS Animator, a stage, and then we'll say size. Stage. We'll say stage is equal to this. We're going to add this as a member. Add plot stage member. So stage, make stage a stage, and then stage extent plus, and then we'll add 20 to it, right? Plus 0 at 20. And we can get rid of this. Stage extent plus 0 at 20. If I save this, will this now make this 500 by 640 by 500 at least? I think the answer is yes. But I don't know for sure. Nope. Right. Until it's actually laid out, it doesn't have an extent. So the stage itself, stage size plus 0, 20. And then this will return. Not return, yeah, return. 640 at 480. Boom. But it did it. So setting that extent did change the layout. So setting an explicit size is the right way to do it. I just need to reinitialize it. So self stage size. Okay. All right. Maybe that should be configured earlier as something else, but I think this works now. Yeah, there we go. That's what I want. But it didn't center it. It didn't center it, and it's not gray. It's not dark gray. The dark gray thing is missing, right? So the dark gray thing is missing. So the stage is there, and then the scene is there. The content, horizontal pane. Is the stage part of the scene? Is the scene part of the stage? I think this needs to. This is not right. This is not what I want. I'm wasting too much time on this. This is not important. But also I told this to fit the content, and that's not it. So GS scene does need to match the parent. I screwed that up. The horizontal pane is the scene holder. It does not need to be a horizontal pane. It just needs to be a BL element or a GS object. And it should have a background color. And it should have these two things. And the stage should have a background color. And then the scene should be on top of it, placed at the same location as the stage. Okay, let me read that. This is not important right now. I can change this later. But I need to get something on there. So, okay, so GS Animator, let me just fix this. Stage size, scene holder, as child, make UI. Make scene holder, okay. And then the make scene holder contains horizontal pane. I'm going to override this. That's what I'm going to do. So in this class, we're going to scene holder is going to be a horizontal, and it's going to add child. We're going to add and make the stage. We're going to say add child scene. Add child self make stage as stage. Make stage as stage. And the stage is going to contain the scene. I think, I don't know. And make stage. Say make a new element. Size is self stage size. Border is color black. Clip children false. And then add child and scene as scene. I think this is close to what I want. Let's see if it works or not. Cannot child that is already added, add a child that is already added to another element, okay? Okay. And that is because at this line, add this scene, and the scene is a GS scene that is already added somewhere else. Make UI, make start scene, and make UI, make stage, okay. Oh, super make UI, okay. Make scene holder. Oh, okay. Oh, so make stage. Wait, what? No. So in make UI for GS Animator, we don't do this here. All right, so we restart this. That's worked, but make stage, add child scene as scene. I feel like that should be working now. Element stage, GS scene, content, fit content. And then, yeah, I screwed that up. I didn't take out the fit content. So make scene holder, make stage, as scene, and then make UI, make UI, make UI. Content, get rid of this. That's what I want. It's covering the border. So BL border new width 2 color black. Paint color red with, okay. What did I just see? Comment. BL border builder, paint color red, color black, with 2 rows. Right? Width. The border is inside. Is that what's happening? All right, this does not matter. as bounds, right? Add child, and then we'll just make a new BL element. BL element new. Size is self stage size. And border is this. And we'll add that as bounds. Okay. I like that. Think that worked good? I think that works now. Yes, but it doesn't need to be 5. It can just be BL border. Just be color black. Okay. Self stage size plus we'll just say 10, 20. Nope. I really like in Godot how you have a visual tool for building all this stuff. You can just build your UI visually. Really nice. In theory, you should have that with this once I'm done, right? So match parent, H match parent, C. Oh, maybe you don't even need this. Just tell them H match parent, and then be exact, like 200 or something like that, making it 200 high. I think this works. Yes. Is that 200 high? Maybe I only need 100. There we go. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And make it 120. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Right. It fits on my screen. It's not the end all and be all of what this should be. Right, so now if I do GS Animator examples, and then the bouncing ball, bouncing square. There we go. Then we have this, and then we should be able to do something with that. Okay. obviously, yeah, I'm up. This is going to be like a scrolling panel, and then when you are able to drag it, you'll be able to drag it out of the stage. Excuse me. And maybe the whole stage itself, stage BL element new, and then background color blue. I just want to see what is this. Oh, the whole thing is blue. That's not what I want. Oh, the scene holder is what I want. So the scene holder is the whole thing, and that's going to be. I want to get that a different color. Background color. Maybe the scene should not have a color, right? The scene holder should have a color, and then the scene could be transparent. So the scene holder should have a color, right? That's what I want. Boom. That's what I want. Yeah, but this should be whatever the current scene is. So whatever the GS scene is, GS scene, where it says initialize, this needs to not have a default background. It has no background. The default background should be transparent. And then in the GS animator, the background should be the default background from the GS colors default background. Yes, that's right. Yeah. If I run this now, yes, that's what I'm expecting. That's what I expect. And then now I have a window in here. And I'm just for the sake of argument, I'm going to change this, even this. Just set this at relocate to, so if it's starting at 0, 20, 200, I'm going to set this at negative, it's 50, so how about negative 25, 200, so it's like on this border. And if I run this, there you go. So something is clipping its children that should not be clipping the children. And that is what? The scene holder needs to clip its children, but the stage should not clip its children. And the scene itself should not make it. Right, so the scene holder should clip its children, absolutely. But the scene does not need to clip its children. The scene child. Scene. I mean, that's probably the wrong place to put that too, but there we go. That's what I want to see. That way I can see things moving off the stage. And if I zoom this out, what happens? Yeah, that's perfect. That's beautiful. That's exactly what I want to see. Okay. So now I have a timeline. I have the scene. And now we want to start adding tracks to the timeline. And there should be 3 tracks here. Or rather, there should be 3 keyframes in this track. One here, and one here. So I just want to draw a box for each one of them. With keys, an object. All right, so then keyframes. Keyframes. Not collect, it's map, right? But it's not map either. It's do. That's an association. Keyframes should be list of int value associations. Name and property. Name and property is list of is name for object in C for named node in C. And so this would be the timeline. So I believe we have a thing called timeline here, right? Stage, no. Here's timeline. Again, breaking this convention or not following any particular convention. Timeline. Oh, did I not set this? Oh, because I set it as a local variable. And add this as a slot. There we go. And then up here, we're going to say timeline, which is now valid timeline. And a child. What? BL, I'm just going to draw a box for now. BL element new size well, the timeline knows the size. Sorry, so we'll say timeline add keyframe on track so the timeline is only this side of things, so it doesn't have a name property. It just says add keyframe. So on track 1 for now, add it with track 1 do and then T, and then we'll say T add keyframe AF T value AF value, something like that. All right, so with track 1 do right, so we need to browse GS timeline to add this. All right, so comment. I visually I provide a visual timeline for placing keyframes for an animation, something like that. I don't know if that's terribly clear, but that's good enough for now. And then we're going to say add track for with track 1 with track and index do an integer maybe even a small integer do I say n index because it's a positive number, right? N index do a block. Maybe what I really want to say is like, I lost that. Okay. Really more like timeline add track, right? Like this, rather than just make a new track, right? We're adding a track, and then we're going to say GS animator track, anim track. GS timeline track, GS track, add GS track new, right? Anim track for now. GS anim track, animation track, GS animation track, new, right? So that's here. We're going to add that. Is it a visual thing? Yeah, they're kind of both visual and whatever. So GS object, animation, kind of not sure the tracks. And then we have a slot is keyframes. Slot is keyframes. Or just keys, right? Keys. Now we'll call it keyframes. New. And then add frames. And then we're going to add keyframes collect. Did I call that keyframes? Is that 2 words? Are they keyframes or keyframes? I think they're keyframes. Make it that. Device step. Okay, browse. Methods. Initialize. Super initialize. And then keyframes equals this thing. Keyframes becomes that. That's it. And then these keyframes are going to, so then add frames will be add frames an array or a collection, I guess. And we're going to say a collection do should be just key value associations. A collection do self add frame so KV is the association. Add frame K, KV key with value KV value. It almost is just like keyframes really is almost just an ordered collection, right? But it's ordered by the key, right? Not by the order in which you add it in. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure if there even is an ordered collection in Talk. I bet there is, but ordered collection. So is that what is the order? Is it the order? Is it sorted or is it order that you insert them? Yeah, sorted by these. I want like a not an ordered collection, but a sorted collection. Sorted collection because they're sorted by key. Yeah, sorted collection. So really, it's self keyframe, or really just keyframes equals I'm just trying to see what this does. We'll do 2 will be a symbol. All right, let's see what that does. 07532. We say sort by, I think it said. Sort using A, B. Sort collection, let's oops, browse this again, Control V to browse. Browse that with, look at the comment. Sort a collection, sort using element, okay, so A key less than B key. Oops. Yeah, so something like that. And if I do this, ooh. Yeah, sort using this, you have to do it like this. Because you could be adding them in random order. So keyframes is equal to this. And then keyframes add all, like that. So add all returns the collection rather than the self. That's weird. Okay, that seems weird. In fact, I remember reading that and thinking that reading somewhere where someone was talking about maybe that should not be the way things are. Give me 1 second. I'm curious about something. I'm curious about, yeah, okay. On my preview of my YouTube channel, the little icon of my little smiley guy is like right on my face. It's like the same size as my face. I was confused by that. I'd never really noticed that before. But it looks like it does not cover the whole face. Not that it matters. Not that my face is all that important, but whatever. Okay. Things I get distracted by. Okay, yeah. So I remember reading that collections, return the add all argument returns the argument rather than the collection, which is a little strange. And that's why you have to say yourself. So you say like that. So you say keyframes equals sort of collection. Sort using this. But no, you have to do it like this. I bet you could say new, right? If you said new there, then say new. You can't. What does sort using do? That's got to be say new sort block. Okay, so yeah, because then you would say new sort block. And then now you can say add all in a cascade. And then you say yourself. But I think just having sort of collection sort using this would be fine. So because this is going to be part of the initialization, right? Yeah. So instead of this, right now add frames. And then now we say keyframes and then redraw frames. And then self-redraw frames. Rebuild, self-rebuild, rebuild on the track. Okay, so rebuild. Yeah, that's fine. So a track will have nothing but keyframes, and it'll have a height. Okay, so super initialize, and then GS object is a subclass of BL element, right? Correct? Is that correct? So, whoops. Close this, and then you click on it, and it opens up BL element. All right, so it has a height, and now when we rebuild it, I need the cell width. So CW equals CW is equal to self parent I'll say self parent call width, and then on error do, and we'll do like 20, right? I think if I run this, what is it going to do? Print this, it's going to be 20, right? It does nothing here. If I do it in this context, I think that gives me 20. Because that's going to give me an error, right? Yeah, 20. So that it fails because this doesn't work, then I'm just going to give it 20. Okay. Okay. And then self remove children, and that should be a member of BL element. So all children are removed. Self remove children, and then add children, and then we're going to make a whole bunch of new ones. Self remove children, add children. Keyframes do KV, and then we have so keyframes do KV, and we're going to have this. Remove all the children, add all the children. And the children we're going to add are just going to be a new frame for each one. I'm not going to make a frame object yet. Probably will be an object pretty soon. Element new. GS animation keyframe. I don't know if I want to make them more than like objects yet or not. Let's see. Keyframes do KV. So X So we need variables x and y. Y is going to be 0, so x is going to be CW times, so the column width times, column width times KV key. Y equals 0. So PL element new column height new. How about GS object? GS object new v fit parent fit v match parent. So that's whatever the height is, h exact CW. So it's one column for now. H exact CW. So that's the size. Boom. Then we're going to say, what else? Background color dark gray. Is that already the background color? I'm not sure. How about light gray? Light gray, very light. How about very light gray? Very light gray. very light gray. Border. I don't know what I'm doing. Color. Dark gray. Or even black. Color black. Very dark gray. And then, why am I not getting, and then, yeah, that works. And then, what else? We have the width and height, and then relocate to this. So we don't even need this x. Add 0. Probably this does need to be a frame because we want to have all kinds of information about it, but when you click on it and have it do something or whatever, but let's call this redraw frames. Even though it's not really drawing, it's like rebuilding a model of the frames. All right, and then the parent is going to actually need that. So this should be a child of the GS timeline, and then we need to expose that call W. We don't need the writer for it right now. Okay, so then now that I think that works. We don't need this. Oh, but and then I need to add it to the scene. So I'm going to add it to the scene, and then I'm going to have it draw these 3 squares. I believe it would draw these 3 squares if they existed. So a bouncing square, add track for this. So when it adds a track, what is it supposed to do? See, add track for self-seen with square, add track for browse implementers. That's M, Control M. That's this one. Add track for it. Oh, I think I had this halfway in progress somewhere and I lost it. So add frame with value. You don't need this. Add frames, we're going to add all the frames at once. So we're going to say timeline add frames. Okay, so where did it go? Add track for square position with keys. All right, so self, so we say timeline, add track. I think I'm missing some stuff. Make track list. That's the left-hand side. I want on the right-hand side, we need to say oh, wait a minute, hang on. Okay, the timeline has both the left and right-hand side. So when we say add a track for collection. I'm going to ignore the left-hand side, so add track for collection for now. Just animator, add track for collection with keys and object. I think we just pass this directly to the timeline because the timeline does have both the and object. So we're just passing it to the timeline. We're just relaying this exactly as is to the timeline. And then we need to add this method, not an add method. This is GS timeline new. Add track for, and if we add this here, boom, create method, boom, and it shows up here. And we can just say timeline here. This is what it was a second ago. Now, what do we do? Let's browse GS timeline. We have this scroll pane on the right. What is the thing on the right? The grid. Okay, so grid, add child, GS animation track, new, and close this here. I'll pop that off to a new window. I don't need it, and close it. So GS animation track, and we're gonna. Well, okay. First of all, I can just run this, right? Right. So if I run this, then I would say it is a GS object. So I can say GS object new. Sorry, not GS object. GS animation track new. Add frames. And that's these frames right here. We don't do anything with the value yet, so this is totally fine. And then this should just run, and this should make, and then because it redraws frames, so we can say new, we're say background blue, color blue, add frames, this. So I think if I run this, that should give me a association did not understand parent. Add frames, parent, self-parent, redraw frames, animation track. Keyframes, add all, so super is a sort of collection, add all, a collection, right? That should work. Okay, I'm not sure what happens. Let's look at the debugger. Add to. Add children. So when I'm doing add children here, keyvames collect is what I want. There we go. All right, so this should probably that's what I want to see. All right, so we don't need the background on here. And when we add this to the track, oh no, we don't want that. We don't want it to match the parent, do we? The frames need to match the parent, but we need to be we need a track height. So track height is equal to, I guess that could probably change on a track by track basis. So let's just call it 20 for now. So self H horizontally match the parent, be exact, and this needs to change. So it would change whenever you change this, but I think we'll just leave it as not something you can change for now. Right, so now if I run this, I should get tracks like that. That's what I want to see. So 0, 3, 2, and 75. If I make this super big, do I see 75? Yes, I do, way over there. That's what I want to see. All right. I don't like the way those fit together, but that's fine. And then the frames for now, when they become tweens, they will start to expand a little bit. Okay, so now we have the G animation track. Now we can add this GS animation track new, and then we're going to add. We're not going to worry about the path. New. Add frames a collection, which is what this should be called. A collection. Temp shadows a collection. Oh, there's two names. Add track for a name and property. A element and property name. A name and property. Name and slot. A name and property. save that, save that. Okay, so now we can add a track for this with keys. And we've already shown this works. Now we want to show, oh yeah, but this is GS animation track works. Now we want to show GS timeline adding the same thing. Let's come back over here and show this scene. Boom. Add child was sent to nil. Actually, I do want to look at, I do want to debug. Grid, a collection grid. The keys, a collection grid, add track for grid. Okay, so grid never got assigned in. So in GS timeline, we have to say initialize GS grid new. Oh, timeline. Okay, so grid is just not used. Let's get rid of that slot then. If we can look at the references, trials references, I think there are no references to it, so we can do it. What does protect do? Oh no. All right, let's just delete it. Yes, and so now we need to know how many tracks there are, and we need to move this down a little bit so that it doesn't interfere with this top line. So GS timeline, add track for GS scene. What am I looking for? Not GS scene. GS timeline, add track, add frames, add. This is animation track. I want GS timeline. Why does it say GS timeline there? It should say animation timeline. And if I go GS timeline, then add track for keys. Timeline is just a grid, right? The timeline is just a grid. Maybe this should be renamed to grid, yeah. Grid. Because the thing itself is a timeline. You don't want to have a timeline be a component of a timeline. That doesn't make sense. So grid, add this. And now when I run this, it should just do the same thing. Boom, yeah, okay. But now when we add this thing to the grid, this part, so we also need a name like track list. Does this thing have an add item? Yes, it does. Okay. Right, so we're going to remove items here, or we're just going to leave it as this. I guess it's the same, so we just remove this. And then here we're going to say add track. So this will be track list is this simple list. Maybe track list is when I call make track list folder, I already say track list. Yeah, I gotta have a better way to self-make track list. I need a convention for this. But I think the name, rather than digging around for initialize, finding make something seems to be the place that needs to go. make self-make track list. Self-make track list. What I meant to say is that having a method called make track list seems to be a perfectly reasonable place to put the thing that assigns the variable called make track list. Because then we decide whether or not that has a that's going to be my convention. Oops. I have about 1 hour left until I have to go. How long have I been filming this? 2 hours? 3 hours? Okay. Is that right? Guess so. Don't have a lot of time in the day, you know. All right. So then, the whole point of this is that the track list is going to have a number of children, right? So we have a track list, we have actor zone. So track list add item. So that's going to say something that's going to be like this. ABC one, you know, name, slot, or whatever, property, prop. So we want this to be a string. Name prop, yeah, but that's not right. Oh, just np first, comma np second as string, comma np second as string. But not just that. How about a dot? Name.prop. That's what I want to see. And property, so we're going to say I'll just spell it out. And say make it use that. Nope. A name and property first as string. A name and property second as string. Grid add child GS animation track new add as frames a collection. All right, let's see if, so now when I go to, maybe we need this. Go to animation timeline and we do this scene. Do we get square dot? Nope, we don't. Simple list does not understand add item. Okay. What does items do? Nothing. An ungrouped list adds items. Self items provider. On me. Can't see my phone. Is it? My screen's not on. Okay. Somehow I lost my screen. Okay. Alrighty. I guess I need to have a backup here. Add scene. Full cam. All right. That's annoying, but whatever. All right. Otherwise, I don't know how to restart that camera if I jiggle it too much. It's happened 2 days in a row now. I don't know what causes it to file, to screw up. I gotta call someone back in a little bit too. But I'm frustrated because I'm frustrated with this, that you would think you have something where it knows how to add items, right? So that when you have a list, you add items to the list, and then like this brick thing just doesn't. It's not done. Unless collections themselves have this, thing. List model. No. You just change the. Like if collections themselves are observable, right? I don't think they are. Are they observable? Collection. Collection. All right, so we'll look at a particular collection. We'll look at an array, right? Well, but see, if you don't have a protocol browser, you can't tell what you've inherited, right? You don't know what you've inherited from all the things above you. What we should do is look at this in Morphic world where we have a protocol browser, if it works. It's not launching Morphic world. Okay. Okay. I will just launch a completely new Pharo instance. With the Pharo launcher, I will launch the launch Pharo 12. Well, I think this is like Pharo 10 or something. Blah, blah, blah. Pharo, browse, system browser. I have two of these. That's because I have so many windows. That's what's happening. So many windows. I was just looking at all the Rosal examples. Rosal. Nice little chart. If I want to save that, I'm not sure. If I want to save that or not, I was just messing around. Numbers, I think that's something. I think this is something I did. I was looking at a bunch of stuff that I had done like a long time ago. That's what happened. That's what's going on. But I think I moved all that to. I don't know what I did. Okay, whatever microdown is, it's quite cool apparently. Fancy. Okay, I don't need this. If I didn't save it, I didn't care about it. If I didn't save it to whatever, to version control, then I didn't care about it. Okay, so what I want to do, I wanted to make a browse. I want a system browser. I want to search for collection. Native, is that what I want? Array. Control B to browse. Okay, wherever that is, that was in collection sequenceable base. Okay, sequenceable base. Okay, boom. Okay, and my question is, I want a protocol browser on this. How do I get a protocol browser? I'll take this and browse the protocol. This does not have a protocol browser. Okay. But it does show these. Okay, so that's what I wanted to see. But it does show the inherited stuff. So settings store on. And the question was, does it have a like notify? Does it have a accessing. Does it have instance side, right? This is the protocol browser. Why doesn't it just show at put? Oh, I see. I'm looking at a. How do I see everything? Hmm. Well, bottom line, I'm not seeing anything that says like there's nothing that says like observable, right? You can observe an array at the object level. Object itself has observers, but I don't think Smalltalk collections are observable. That's what I'm getting at. Smalltalk observable collections. I'm guessing the answer is no, that's not a thing. List model, blah, blah, blah. Okay, do I have a list model? That's what I want. I want something like a list model. Is there a thing that is a list model? That's a Dolphin. The Dolphin is a different brand of Smalltalk, but it is exactly the kind of thing that I would expect to see. List model. No. View model. Like that's the thing I want to see, right? My guess is that this does not exist. Save changes, yeah, save them. So next time I have 800 windows open. My guess is that list model is not a thing. VR group list model, okay. Simple list model. I think this just doesn't make any. This is just not useful, right? You need something that is a model of. Right. This is me falling into the trap of trying to do things the Brick way. Brick is not finished. Brick does not have support to do this kind of thing. So, what do? We have a thing where we have a list of tracks. We want to add tracks to it. Forget all this nonsense. This does not do what I want. Notify items change synchronously. Is synchronous. I don't know what this means. I don't think you can do this. I think in this world, you know, the way you do things is you keep calling me, right? I work here. I ask people not to disturb me. I'll call them back in a little bit. I just want to get this working, check this in, and then I'll call people back and close this, shut this down and call people. Okay. Right, so add frames causes it to redraw. That's good enough. All right, so add animation timeline again, but the list, right? The list. How do you make? we have a list holder. That's what triggered this, is that the list is already in place on the left-hand side. We can't add an item to it. Okay, let's just pretend we don't have widgets. We have so track list. So we should have a slot called tracks. Okay, tracks is going to be track model maybe. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some refactoring here, but okay, so track model is going to be the list of things. And if we say add track for, then we're going to say track model add, and we're just going to name this. Boom. And then when we initialize, we're going to say track model is equal to just an array. And then now I think we can just say this, track model. Let's see. Did that work? Add should not be implemented in array, okay? So it's not array that I want, it's some other thing. It's not. Or ordered collection is what I want. Get rid of this, don't need this. Ordered collection. I don't need this anymore, this is gone. Animation track works. Okay. This is what I should be looking at. This is the page I go to. I'm getting frustrated and frazzled here, and I'm running out of time. Okay, square position, we got it. Okay, square position is in 3 different places. We've added it there. Now we need to add it down here a little bit more, and we need to change GS timeline. All right, so the GS timeline is this everything in this light gray is the GS timeline. The list on the left is not drawn correctly. UI the exact tracklist holder. Tracklist holder has an element and it needs to be 20 by 20. And I believe if I do that, then everything's fine. Yeah, that's down far enough that it doesn't interfere with this. Maybe this should be 20 as well, so everything is the same height. Actually, I think that's 16 is what that is. The cursor is 16. The top row is a little bit smaller than all the other tracks. Tracks are 20. I should probably rethink that, but maybe rethink that, give that an explicit name. Yeah, so then, okay, so now, when we add a track, this is what we want. When we add a track, that frames a collection and then we're going to say relocate to 0, 0 at, and then really it should be like the sum of track heights, but we'll just say self next track height. Can you say like 1, 2, 3 sum? Yes. Okay, so can we say self I mean, you do want to separate the model and the widgets, right? All right, I'm just going to draw this. We can check it in, and then I'm going to take a break because I got to go. So we're just going to, in fact, I'm just going to hard code this at 16 plus 20 times, is this over here, 20 times self track list size. Nope, track list size. Track list size times 20. I got to do it the other way around. No, I don't. That's fine. That's actually fine because that's a dyad. So plus 16. Do it that way, and then I don't have to use quite as many prints. All right. If I do this, then I run this, and I think that moves this down, and then I have 3. Oh, so many things. Did not understand X. A point X. Okay, so a point X. I have 2 windows here. Probably in my code, right? To where it says GSM. Probably this. No. All right, I just look for somewhere I used X in the code I just wrote. Track list size plus 16. Relocate 0 at. Oh, track model size. So I'm looking at the widget. I was thinking I need to rename that too, because track list, is that the model or the... I'm definitely getting a mess here. Oh, that went too far. -1. Track list size -1. -1. There we go. And that's it. So that's the square position track, and then blah, 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 blah. Those are the things. I should make them a little bit different than the background. So I should make their color be darker somewhere. So again, browse this, draw frames, and then we'll make them dark gray. Oops. Dark gray. Or gray. Maybe even light gray. Maybe even white. I like that. Kind of, yeah. Okay. I may change that. All right, well, I'm gonna check this in. So what did I accomplish? I added... You have to drag it, you can't click yet. I added draw keyframes and draw the scene, and then so the next step will be to... I really do want clicking on this. But to get it to actually update the scene and actually get this thing to move. That'll be the next step. All right. The draw keyframes and timeline, that's mostly done. But when you click on them, they need to do something. So there needs to be some UI for like specifying what happens here. We definitely need zoom and scroll. Zoom and scroll the stage scene area. And because when this is an application, it's going to be huge like this. And maybe even full screen, like, and again, this is a quarter of my screen, so that, all this will go away. Everything up here will go away. It'll be a big screen, just like a normal application. This will probably go away. All this border out here, there's a lot of wasted space here right now. When it's an application. I would think. But we need to get this. All right, so the next step will be to drag to make this thing move. That's the next thing. Draw keyframes and timeline. It's kind of working. Drag playhead to say done. We say done here. I don't know how to mark something as done because you can't put like a checkbox or anything like that. But let's do it org mode style X. Okay. All right, so we actually have done this. We've added tracks to the timeline. We can now do that. So at least programmatically. Done with code, working with code so far. code. And drag playhead to preview the animation. Reconfigure scene for that point in time. That's the next thing. That's what I want to do. And then autoplay the animation. But that's not going to be useful right now because that's just going to show this plop, this bing bing. That's going to be the animation. Actually, that's fine. Zoom and scroll the scene area. That's going to be important once I start adding the inspectors and stuff over here. There's not going to be a lot of room here. But that is probably part of version 1. Set frame value from current, set keyframe value from current value. So items, so drag items and scene to set keyframe. All that stuff is later. So this is soon. And then we'll add like next scene, so ASAP, right? ASAP. Autoplay entire animation. So we're going to click on, I definitely want to click or drag playhead. Click or drag playhead, preview animation, autoplay the entire animation as you drag. Fine. And then I want inspectors. What do I want to do at these tweens? I want to add tweens. So tweens. One thing I was thinking about, so the demo application, the demo animation that I want to make is like this little guy coming down, bouncing up, and I want him to like stretch and squish and stretch, whatever, wash and stretch. I forget what the two words are that they use in animation, but so it's going to come down here. It's going to make like an arc, and it's going to bounce and it's going to squish, and as it's falling, it's going to, you want it to stretch out. And the question is, like, how do you make that happen in a timeline like this? Because you can definitely control the size and you can control the rotation. So there should be a track for square position, square rotation, square shape, or square size. But do you want to put a keyframe on each one? And it makes me think that maybe what I want is like something dynamic. So that it's not just square position, but like square dx or velocity or square acceleration, right? And that way you could set the keyframes and then just calculate the difference on each step. And so you would be performing like an integration here. I've never seen an animation program do that. But that's what game engines do. That's what you do in a game engine. You set the velocity and the speed and so forth, and you get the like physics kind of stuff. Like not even real physics, like just kind of basic whatever. So if you had like a angular momentum, then at every point it would start turning a little bit, and you wouldn't have to write a keyframe for that. That's what I kind of want to see, right? I'll think some more about that. I also want to draw a line here. Not a big deal, but that was on my list. I'm just going to draw that line real quick, and then I'm going to check this out. So GS animate, not animation tracks, GS animator. I want GS timeline. I say make, I don't have a make grid. There should be a make grid here. Make UI, propane holder. Make propane. Content is grid. I thought I changed that to, oh, I did call it grid, didn't I? I changed it to timeline and then realized that was a dumb name. But where is grid? Grid is an initialize. And we want to get rid of this. And instead here, we're going to say self-make grid. And we'll make that a method. And that will be the convention. So boom, grid. Return grid equals GSUI grid. And then in there, let's say add child BL element new border color dark gray. I'm just copying that. Size v exact v exact 1. This is not something that exists, so we say GS object new v exact 1 h match parent relocate 0 at 16. There we go. That's the one. Okay. All right. Check all this in. So what did I do? A bunch of stuff. Basically, so we'll say GS animator. I should add scene, add scene, add tracks to add scene and add tracks to time. And add scene and add tracks and add tracks. There's more than that, but whatever. All right, hopefully I'll have some more time later today to do things. Gotta go call people back, pick up my kid, and whatever. Run errands basically, and then hopefully I'll have some time later tonight to make this happen. If I do that, then we're on the right track. Now we're talking animation. Right. It'll be a prototype, right?